every person who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to defend himself in person or by a legal practitioner of his own choice.
Remember that an individual is entitled to remain silent.
Every citizen in Nigeria is entitled to maintain a private life.
You are approaching a military checkpoint or a police checkpoint without knowing that it's against or it offends them and subject you to a frog jump. That is wrong.
Hello there and welcome to another fresh episode of the program Justify Nigeria on ACNN television, reaching you from Abuja. On today's episode of the program, we are going to be looking at the legal consequences of rape. My name is Anozie Chinomso. The word rape and its negative effects in the society is something that is very bad and should not be seen or mentioned in the existence of man. But unfortunately, rape has become so rampant to the extent that its happenings occurs almost on a daily basis. According to Section 357 of the Criminal Code Act, a person is guilty of an offense of rape if he has unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman or a girl without her consent, if the consent is obtained by force or by means of threats or intimidation of any kind, or by fear of harm, or by means of force and further representation as to the nature of the act, or in the case of married women, by personating her husband. Unquote. Some months ago, the life and bright future of a 22-year-old microbiology student by name Vera Wela Omozuwa was cut short in Benin City by rapists. This act by these criminal elements in the society is not only condemnable and bad, but also incurably bad. It is regrettable to know that reports of the crime of rape that flows into various police stations and law courts is most baffling and bizarre. Why is the practice of rape prevalent in our society? What really could be the cause of all this? What are the legal consequences, sanctions, and punishments? Are there ways by which this could be curtailed and stopped? With me in the studio to discuss this and other issues relating to this is Barrister Mrs. Dikocha Faith C., Principal Partner FC Dikocha and Associates, Human Rights Activists, Legal Officer, National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, NAPS, in FCT and North Central Nigeria. You are welcome to the program, Barrister Faith.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you very much. Oftentimes we hear about rape and it's something that is condemnable. Please, can you just educate our viewers what rape is all about and the legal ingredients of rape?
Yeah, thank you once more for having me.
You're welcome.
Talking about rape is it's actually a very, very painful thing to talk about. So, but when you ask me what rape is, you've said it all. By the provisions of our laws, it is simply having unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman or a girl without her consent. Now, even if that consent is obtained, if it is obtained,
when you mean carnal knowledge, or when the law means sleeping with the person,
yes, having
intercourse. Okay, let's get it clear.
Penetration is a condition sine qua non, is a condition precedent. There must be penetration, so that's why it has to do with sensual.
Okay, when you're coming to ingredients, you're talking about rape. Let's get
it has to do with intercourse, having an intercourse by the law, provision of the law on rape. It has to do with having unlawful sexual intercourse with a woman or a girl without her consent. And even if the consent is obtained, if it was obtained by fear, through a process of fear, threat, intimidation, or whatnot. So that's rape what in a summary format. It's actually broad, but in a very summary.
Can someone commit rape upon a person that is asleep? For example, Mr. A invites a friend and maybe drug the person and sleeps on the. Can that thing be called rape?
What is rape? Rape is without consent.
But in this case, she's asleep.
But did she give her consent? The consent was not obtained. The law is consent. Did I give my consent before the sexual intercourse took place? If I didn't give my consent, whether I was asleep or was in coma,
is immaterial.
Is immaterial. it is rape.
Okay, that's correct. You were talking earlier about the ingredients of rape. Is that things that we must find in order not to vitiate any cause of rape? What are the ingredients
Yes,
of rape?
very well. The law made an elaborate provision as regards to what the prosecution must prove in the offense of rape, for the offense of rape to hold sway.
Okay.
The first thing that need be proved is the fact that there was sexual intercourse.
Okay.
It's very important.
Okay.
Then secondly, you must prove that the intercourse took place without the consent of the victim.
Okay.
Okay. Now you must also prove that the victim is not the wife of the accused person. You must prove that the victim is not the wife of the accused person. And then to sum it all, you must prove penetration. If penetration is not proved, the case of the prosecution will definitely fail.
Oh, penetration is a condition, the precedent.
It is the most important proof of rape. And if it is not proved, and of course you know you must prove beyond a reasonable doubt, so you must prove that there was penetration. So if there is no penetration, then obviously it cannot come under the umbrella of rape.
So,
these are the ingredients.
So it then means if there is any way perchance, if there perchance somehow that a man after doing whatever thing that he wants to do with a lady and actually wanted to but not actually, or even he commits the rape and in the course of investigation there is no proof of that penetration, of course
the case of rape will fail. The case of the prosecution will fail.
Automatically.
It has failed already. Before it began, it has failed. So penetration is very important. That's the
bottom line of it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Talking about penetration, then can a woman maintain an action against a man on rape? That's number one. Then in the case of married couple, can any of them maintain an action for rape? First, can a woman succeed, for example, in a case where a man was invited to a room by a lady, not knowing that there are 5 ladies there? I'm just painting a scenario. Only for him to come in, and one is coming from the bedroom, another one is coming from the wardrobe, and before you know it, they bounce on. Can that man maintain an action for rape?
No. By the provision of we're talking about law.
Yes.
We're not talking about sentiment or morality. We're talking about law. That's actually a platform that there's a lacuna. There's a lacuna. Yes, there is, because as time, law keeps evolving. Law is dynamic. So as things unfold, you begin to have, that's why we have people there who are intelligent people that draft the law. So as things come around, they take effect, they take measures
and to amend and all
that. But at the moment, as at now, there is the law of rape is actually, look at the definition of rape. Unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman. They were very specific. So a man actually cannot maintain an action on rape against a woman or group of women, as the example you gave.
Yes.
Since the law has not covered it. But, however,
yes,
a man can maintain an action in the aspect of sexual assault.
But not rape.
Not rape.
You should amend the law. You should sponsor legislation to amend that law, because I can see somehow that it's severely women thereabout. Because just like the scenario I painted, it happened some years ago, and at the end of the day, there's nothing that young man can do because there was no consent. So having said that, it then means that a man cannot maintain an action based on our law on rape.
Yes, on our current laws.
But on sexual assault, that can fly.
Because in law, there is no cause without a remedy. There must always be a remedy for every cause, for every action.
And that's the interpretation of ubi jus, ubi remedium, as you put it.
No cause without a remedy. Very well, sir. You're very correct.
Okay, very well. Okay, thank you very much. Then in the case of a married couple, can, for example, the same scenario, a man and the woman that are married, and the man called the wife to behave, and she said, let me use it as she said no. What happens if the man decides to, without consent now? Can that wife maintain an action on that man?
When you asked me a question on the ingredients of rape,
yes,
remember I said that one of the ingredients is that the prosecutor must prove that the victim is not the wife of the accused. Remember I said that earlier.
Okay.
Now I want to quote what an English jurist quoted one of the times. He said, "A husband cannot be guilty of rape committed by himself upon his lawful wife. For by their mutual matrimonial consent and contract, the wife had given up herself in this kind to her husband, which she cannot retract."
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So currently, by our laws, by the provision of the Nigerian law,
okay,
a woman cannot maintain an action against her husband on rape.
You just been mentioned by what you quoted by the jurist,
Yes.
a lawful wife. What do you mean by lawful wife?
A woman you are legally married to. We have legal control law of marriage, family law. You understand?
Okay.
But I said something. A woman can maintain an action against her husband if in the aspect of sexual assault.
Assault.
Do you
But
understand?
not rape.
Not rape. The major thing that separates sexual assault and rape is the aspect of penetration. Do you understand?
Yes.
So how can you maintain an action against your husband for penetration? What? You understand?
Yes.
We actually do know that somehow a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
In fact, you should even remember the provision of Section 15 of the Matrimonial Causes Act. One of the reasons for dissolution of marriage is when one of the spouse, the woman most of the time, has consistently refused to consummate the marriage. So the marriage can be dissolved. So what are you now saying? That your husband slept with you and he has committed rape against you?
Okay, just a quick one. Then can a fiancé maintain an action for rape on the fiancé?
Yes, they're not married.
Okay, that's what you mean by legally.
Legal marriage. When you talk about we have statutory marriages and all that. So you must be legally married. His legal wife.
Thank you very much. What are the consequences of rape? And of course, are there anything we have to do to remedy this? These and many more we are going to hear from Barrister Mrs. Faith after this time out. Please do join us again. Hi, you are welcome to The Speaker, reaching you from Advent Cable Network Nigeria, ACNN Television, Abuja. On today's episode of The Speaker, we are going to be looking at a topic that says we all are rapists. Rape is an act of sexual intercourse with an individual without his or her consent, through force or threat of force. According to Section 357 of the Criminal Code Act, a person is guilty of an offense of rape if he has unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman or a girl without her consent, if the consent is obtained by force or means of threats or intimidation of any kind, or by fear of harm or means of false and fraudulent representation as to the nature of the act, or in the case of a married woman, by personating her husband, unquote. Unlike Wikipedia, categorize rape in these following ways. 1, by reference to the situation in which it occurs. 2, by the identity or characteristics of the victim. And finally, by the identity or characteristics of the perpetrator. From the above categories, it then means that an act of despoiling, pillaging, ravaging, robbing, and destroying a nation by any means at all is a total and monumental rape committed towards that nation. From the look of things and the morbid happenings occurring in our country, Nigeria, it is believed that the world, and indeed Nigeria, is being raped on a daily basis. The kind of obnoxious character that we exhibit by both the leaders and the led in this country has made all of us rapists. For example, when a citizen of this country refuses to do what he or she is supposed to do and does that which he or she ought not to have done, such individual is a rapist. When a person does the right thing at the wrong time, that person is also a rapist. What happens in a situation where a politician collects constituency allowance which he should have used to better the lives of his people, but rather chose to divert such funds to private pockets? Such fellow is a rapist. When an electorate during an election casts his votes on ethnic extraction or religious sentiment, even when you know that the person you want to vote into power is a thief, you that is casting that vote is a rapist. In a home where a father fails in his responsibility as the head of the house, such man is a rapist to that home. In a situation where a married man makes his secretary in the office, or a slave queen, as the popular say it on the streets, as a secret or second wife, that man is a confirmed rapist to his home. Where a young woman stands on the road at night and jumps from one man to another, from one bed to another, in search of greener pastures, that lady is a rapist. When a married woman insults her husband at home for whatever reason, she too is a rapist. The act of authorities of security agency to disband SARS and quickly replace it with SWAT without adequate and transparent consultation with the members of the public is a rape on democracy. When a governor of a state converts security votes as his rightful allowance without providing adequate security to his subjects, such a governor is a rapist. The act of a leader of a nation making political appointments to favor one ethnic faction or religion with undue regard to the rest is also a rape on democracy. A cleric or religious leader, whether pastor, reverend, bishop, general overseer, imam or chief imam, that deceives, misteach, and brainwash his congregation with religious jingoism and abracadabra is the principal and head of rapists in this country. Fellow citizens, from the above illustrations, you agree with me that we are all rapists one way or the other. Nobody is spared. The politicians are involved and the electorates are involved. The leaders are involved and the led are involved. The temples are involved and the shrines are involved. Even the church and the mosque are all involved. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So says Romans chapter 3, verse 23. I therefore speak that we all should do the right thing wherever we may find ourselves. All hands must be on deck in order to sanitize, restructure, and make this country a better place to be. It is a clarion call we must answer. It is a charge we must keep, and a duty we must do. And the time to do it is now. My name is Anozie Chinomso. I just want to speak. Hello, glad to know that you are still there, and we are still in the studio with Barrister Mrs. Faith Dikocha. Barrister Mrs. Faith Dikocha, thank you very much for what you've done so far. Now, before we went on break, you are trying to elucidate the point that the fiancé and fiancé they are not in the coverage of the legally married couple. But what I want to ask now, are there legal consequences of rape?
Of course there are.
Please, if someone
the offense of rape is actually a criminal offense. In fact, we all know that when a girl child or a woman is raped, it kind of like brings down the person's personality. Some of them never recover till they die. You understand
because
that?
Because of emotional trauma.
The trauma, it has, a lot of them have to undergo a process of counseling to be able to fit in further. So there are consequences. Of course, for every crime, there is a consequence. For every wrong, there is a consequence. So on the part of rape, for our nation, Nigeria, you know, there are different legislations that has been brought forward that are provided for rape. We have the criminal code for those of the South and us, our brothers and sisters in the South. We have the penal code for the North. Now, we have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, which is actually applicable in FCT alone, although most states like Ebonyi, Kaduna, Oyo also have domesticated, have brought it in. You understand? So in this wise, each of these legislations actually provided for punishment if one is found guilty of rape. It can cut across from 7 years to life imprisonment. But the law has also given the judges discretion as to the sentence they can give.
They can give.
Yes, to some extent, some can even end with just fine, an option of fine. Some can end with even caning. In the North, they can, they can cane. Then some others, it can be life imprisonment. So each of these provisions have, but the long and short of the whole thing is that there is punishment if you're found guilty of rape.
But Mr. Faith, why is it that we have various legislations on rape? And why don't we you just quoted that for your SCT? Why don't we have one, just like we have constitution that is the ground norm that also controls? Or can't we have one that is one law that
it's a criminal offense, and it is not the constitution. The only thing that can happen is if there is any of these provisions that we already know that seeks to contravene the provision of the constitution with regards to criminality. That is only when but any state can the constitution provides for opportunity to do this, domesticate, create laws as it is to enable the smooth running of a system. For those of us in the south, for instance, I come from the south, we cannot actually be follow the trend of the Sharia because we are not in the north, and it might not be very convenient for the northerners to follow the path of the so I think it depends on the Nigeria is a very big nation, different people, different tribes, ethnicity is quite wide. You understand?
There must be legislation to suit every jurisdiction.
Yes, but the end point is that there must be punishment for misbehavior once it has to do with rape and you're found guilty.
Thank you very much. Now, if we discover recently, the governor of Kaduna State, Madam Erufai, assented to a law of castration, surgical castration, for people in Kaduna State that have committed rape. What is your take on that? Do you think it might be a lasting solution to curtail this issue of rape, or what do you think on points of law that must have given rise to that?
Well, what I feel, if you ask me what I think, my opinion,
yes,
I would say it could actually go to a large extent to put fear in the minds of these people who are so into it. But you must know that that is actually for pedophiles, those that assault small children. Yes, that provision was not made for the entire rapists. Yes, so I think it has to do with those of them that seek to violate children. So he was very careful to note that these children are the future of our nation. So if we keep violating them, at the end of the day, we will not have a future. Nigeria will not have a future. Or maybe Kaduna State will not have a future. So he decided to do that. So if you say, if it's going to bring a lasting solution, I would say, I don't see that bringing a lasting solution, because there must always, people will keep misbehaving until the end of time.
That's just the factual truth.
People will keep misbehaving, but it can actually go to a long extent to stop them.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
That is my position.
The position,
yes.
Personal position.
Yes.
Now, you made mention of rape and sexual assault. Are they two different things?
Yes, they are very different. I just said earlier that rape, the major difference with rape and sexual assault is the aspect of penetration. Do you understand? Rape, penetration must be put. Now, what is sexual assault? It has to do with indecently touching somebody, especially when it has to do with their sexual organs. Indecently having, without the person's consent. If you indecently touch the breast of a woman or indecently penetrate the anus of a young boy, that can actually go on the aspect of sexual assault, but not rape. Rape can only come to play if there has been penetration proven. And if the person that is being alleged is not legally married, husband of the person. So apart from these two, every other thing is sexual assault. Yes. Okay. Apart from having to penetrate. That's what I'm saying. Every other thing can actually be sexual assault. That's why we said a woman might not really succeed. In fact, will not succeed. Based on our laws. On our laws, on rape. Because you have to sponsor legislation to amend that law. Now, we discovered that oftentimes, you just made mention of it, people that are victims of rape. One, they find it difficult to go to court for their rights. Is it that it's out of shame, or what is your advice towards that? Because they couldn't say, maybe they say, I have seen some people when they come to the chamber, they say, no, I can't bear the shame. Is that necessarily right? Don't you think it will make the perpetrator to continue? After all, I'm not going to be charged to court. What is your advice towards that effect? Are you what's your take on that? This is actually a very personal thing. In as much as we know that an offense has been committed, but you should also know that you're dealing with an individual who has been assaulted. You understand? Sexually assaulted and raped. So it will be very difficult to actually say you must go to, because over the years we have seen that a lot of them that even go to report, most of the time they don't get justice. They don't get justice. Either the prosecutors or the prosecution don't do their case very well. Because every iota of doubt must be cleared. So either they don't do their cases very well, and this person have already gone, the court is an open place, you have been exposed, you have been disgraced, at the end of the day, you don't get justice. One popular case, I wouldn't mention it because of, so whatever happens. So at the end of the day, it now boils down to the person involved. If you ask me, I would say, go, say it out. Let the world hear you. Even if you don't get justice, at least you would have created an awareness that this happened, or it happened in this environment, or that this person assaulted you. But the end point is, at the end of the day, will they get justice? And because justice don't ordinarily come to them, they keep quiet. So my advice would be, go, say it out. There is no harm in trial. Maybe you will be one of the lucky few that at the end of the day will get justice. But in the event you don't get justice, just try and see that you open up. Let people hear you. That's my advice.
Then what do you think that the judiciary, when I mean judiciary, you people now lawyers and judges and maybe justices of the Court of Appeal, what do you think that they can do to also see that these victims get justice? Because oftentimes, maybe, what do you think that...
We should actually start from the platform of those prosecuting these matters. They should get people that are good enough. The prosecutors should do their cases well. Because the judges are sitting as umpires. They're actually working on information.
Evidence before them.
They can't descend into the arena of dispute. So the judges cannot do much.
Well, but the court sumato can also do something.
To what can the court do?
On their own, maybe looking at the available facts quite all right, but they could also decipher and do something. That's
no, the court don't have... A judge who is sitting in the court is not aware of what you're saying. He's only aware of the fact placed before him. And if the prosecution is placing a fact that is filled with doubts, and the defense is able to create doubt in it, what would you advise the judge to do to shift the whatever and give a judgment in favor? You can't do that.
And the criminal law is to prove beyond
reason. Once there is doubt, you cannot win it. You cannot win that case. The judges are there as umpires. They don't sit to get information. What you bring to the table, if it's in civil matters, balance of probability.
Preponderance of evidence.
Thank you very much. So the prosecutors should do their cases well, and if they do their cases well, then justice will always be served.
So the first point call is the people prosecuting.
They should do it well. They should do their investigations well. They shouldn't come to court unprepared. We'll see them in practice. They come unprepared. Someone is presenting a case, and even you that is not, you already know that this case is bound to fail. There are no facts. They don't do investigations. They don't. Oh, it's actually a very pitiable situation we find ourselves in this nation when it has to do with rape. But we know that at the end of it all, everything will just be fine. We are optimistic.
No, Barrister Dikocha, are you optimistic or vis-a-vis pessimistic that...
I'm optimistic.
You're optimistic that rape
I'm optimistic that it will stop. But
it's a gradual thing.
What we know of a truth, there is no way it can stop entirely. But we can also believe that to some extent it will go down.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's as it is.
And all that.
It's that people awareness have been created. Awareness is being created now. People are beginning to know about it. It was not like this before.
Yes.
Yeah, people are beginning to know. Even sex education has been brought into the primary schools.
Yes.
Just for the sake
because oftentimes they don't talk about these things.
That's it. Yes. That's it. So even the little child that is a 5-year-old girl now knows that these parts of my body are important and nobody should touch it. You understand?
That's
so
right.
That awareness can actually help to bring it down to a reasonable extent.
Thank you very much, man. What is your final advice to our viewers and all that as regards to this? My final advice would be that we know that Nigeria will get better because we're actually talking about rape as regards to the Nigerian context. So we know it will get better. We pray that each and every one of us will actually do the needful, be security conscious, don't just dress anyhow and expect to be protected by the law. So do the needful, and then in the event you've done all that you need to do and you are assaulted, please open up. Look for lawyers that you can trust so that they can do this matter for you, and then at the end of the day, justice will be served. Thank you very much. You've heard it from the horse's mouth that we have to do that which is good and right. But when you are being violated, look for a good lawyer to prosecute your matter. I want to appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, in the law, we say the courts have taken judicial notice of you. Now the studio you have been here before, and I know when next you call, you also going to come because the studio have taken judicial notice of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and God bless you for all your enlightenment.
Thank you, sir.
While viewers, you can see the wrap of this episode. From our discussion so far, you will agree with me that sexual violence and rape is not just crime, but also an endemic disease. There is no moral and legal justification to commit rape. This is because both the law of divinity and the law of humanity condemns it. A clarion call is being made today for all of us to rise up against this cankerworm called rape that has eaten deep into the fabrics of our nation by rejecting, resisting, and reporting such crime and their perpetrators to the appropriate security agencies. It is therefore advised that our security and law enforcement agencies, as regards to the prosecution, should do more in their jobs in order to eradicate the crime of rape totally from our society. Until we come your way again, same time, same station, this is Anozechinom, so urging you to remain a good and law-abiding citizen, and bye for now.